Hey guys, today we're diving headfirst into the adrenaline-pumping, heart-wrenching true story that is 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. We're going to unpack every bullet-riddled moment, every tense standoff, and every act of sheer heroism from this incredible film. It's a story of brotherhood, duty, and fighting the good fight when it feels like the whole world has forgotten you. So buckle up, because this isn't just a movie. It's a testament to the grit of a few good men. Before you head off, if you're enjoying the kind of content I make, please consider liking and subscribing. No pressure, but it truly helps me keep the action coming.
Quick, copy that, Ron. We are coming as fast.
You guys are watching a soccer game.
We need sniper on watch fast. Gotta move.
This roost is a bust. We're Feb 17th is rolling with us.
Jake, you gotta knock out the technical right!
Take it!
On the GPS, where are our tanks?
Guess we're going in.
Stay! Yeah, come back!
Let's go!
Get back! Chris!
خليني أنا أتكلم معاهم.
Wait.
Follow my voice!
Jesus Christ, that shit is torched. Go. Mr. Smith! TOC. So, what's going on, man? We gotta move. Ah! 17 Watch our six!
Stand.
Move!
Drive.
No, I'm driving. Move! Second wave is coming!
I'm getting these guys out!
Back right.
Left! No!
I can't believe we left without.
Take on.
Down road. There's no way these guys are in for a night. They got a little tape. Let's go! That door open!
We got a mover. State armored car.
Let's get out of the way!
Keep going! Get out!
Go to the right! Go to the right!
Fire pursuit of target vehicle half.
Left!
Go! Stop, guys. Building A, Tonto boom.
Ooh, let's go!
See!
Get the right side!
Think you hit?
That's a mistake.
They thought they were walking into another temporary ambush.
They're shooting at you!
17 Feb, my ad.
Got big ordnance coming out of there.
Hit the...
That one's for us.
You think they're losing heart? Airport ahead of us. Let me see what the holdup is.
Hey, where the hell are you guys going? God, does anyone else hear that?
You okay? Looks bad. Ow!
Blue, going external. I'm gonna fuck it up even more.
I tried. I'm coming. I got Don't!
Glenn.
Dave's hurt really bad. Ron's not with.
Oz, how can I help?
Hey. What are you doing? No! The enemy's still out there! The ammo table.
Chief.
I got 40, 50. It's over, guys.
Cock it.
Where's that?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Get in the trucks. They could still be you.
Let's go. Up.
Yeah, I know. I'm staying.
This marks the end of a long and charted narrow destiny.
Think you out.
Never get out of the car. Ever.
Shake.
What's you doing?
Well, that's not our job. Protect, not engage. It's Chief's. On your left.
Excuse me?
Jack, if he gets too close, drop him. Hey, no! Get me!
What's going on?
Get your body armor on! Get in!
They're everywhere.
Shot!
All DSB advised there are 30.
Hello?
Mustering the CP right now.
State's under.
Oh, I need more information than that.
We got Chief.
Sir. What's that?
I hear a case. Go back. But we are the only help they... Tripoli?
We need a...
The film kicks off not with a bang, but with a stark, unsettling hum of unease as Jack Silva, our newish security contractor, touches down in Benghazi, Libya in the year 2012. He's met by his old friend and fellow operator, Tyrone Roan Woods, a man whose quiet intensity speaks volumes. The dust and the heat cling to everything, painting a picture of a world teetering on the edge. Benghazi is portrayed as a city where order is merely a suggestion, and the air is thick with the scent of burning trash and unspoken threats. Jock, clearly a family man, immediately calls his wife, a brief moment of normalcy before he steps back into the abnormal. Roan gives him the rundown, which basically amounts to, it's chaos out here. Don't trust anyone and keep your head on a swivel. Sounds like a fun gig, right? We're then introduced to the rest of the six-man Global Response Staff, or GRS team, stationed at the CIA annex. There's Mark Oz Geist, the big, affable guy with a serious demeanor when it counts. John Tig Teagan, the quick-witted, sharpshooting marksman. Chris Tonto Peranto, the loud, confident, and utterly fearless member. And Dave Boone Benton, the quiet, almost philosophical sniper. These aren't just guys with guns. They're family men, fathers, brothers, and sons, each carrying their own burdens and hopes, all while working in a place that actively tries to make you lose both. Their mission? To provide security for the CIA annex, a relatively unassuming compound that houses intelligence operatives. It's a job that requires them to be constantly alert, constantly ready, and often, frustratingly, undervalued. The movie really hammers home the precarious situation in Benghazi. It's not a war zone in the traditional sense, but it's a failed state riddled with militias, some friendly, some not so much, and a general lawlessness that makes even a trip to the gym feel like a tactical operation. The team is driving around in unarmored vehicles, trying to blend in, which, let's be honest, is about as effective as a chameleon trying to hide in a pile of Skittles when you're a bunch of hulking Americans. They pull up to the U.S. State Department's Special Mission Compound, not even officially an embassy, where Ambassador Chris Stevens is currently staying. The contrast between the heavily fortified annex and the rather soft-looking diplomatic compound is glaring. The diplomatic security agents there seem a bit out of their depth, trying to maintain a semblance of normal diplomatic activity in a place that clearly doesn't respect it. They even have a local Libyan guard force, which, let's just say, isn't exactly the Delta Force. Ambassador Stevens arrives at the compound, a well-meaning diplomat trying to foster relationships in a country that's still figuring out what it wants to be. He's a good man, trying to do good work, but he's walking into a hornet's nest with what feels like a fly swatter for protection. The GRS team, with their battle-hardened instincts, immediately notices the vulnerabilities. The walls are too low, the gates are flimsy, and the local guards are more concerned with T-breaks than perimeter security. Roan even voices his concerns, suggesting more barbed wire, more security, anything to harden the target. The DS agents, perhaps bound by protocol or budget constraints, dismiss his warnings with a casual wave, a classic "it'll be fine" that just makes your stomach clench. Oh, if only they knew what was coming. It's the kind of subtle foreshadowing that makes you want to shout at the screen, "No, really, listen to the guys with the big guns." September 11th, 2012. The day starts off like any other, perhaps with a touch more tension in the air, but nothing overtly alarming. The GRS team is going about their routine, training, lifting weights, generally doing what highly trained operators do to stay sharp. Their personal lives are woven into these moments, calls home to wives and kids, glimpses of the emotional tether that keeps them grounded. Jack is trying to patch things up with his wife, who's not thrilled about his line of work. It's a powerful reminder that these aren't just action figures, they're human beings with real families and real fears. Meanwhile, Ambassador Stevens is having meetings, trying to conduct diplomacy, seemingly oblivious to the growing storm clouds. As evening falls, the peaceful facade shatters with a vengeance. At the diplomatic compound, the gates are suddenly breached, not just a little push, but a full-on violent invasion. The attackers, heavily armed and seemingly organized, pour into the compound. The sound is immediate and overwhelming, the roar of engines, the shouts of men, and then the unmistakable rattle of automatic gunfire. It's chaos unleashed. The DS agents, caught completely off guard, scramble to react, but they are outnumbered and outgunned. Flares light up the night sky, giving the attackers a terrifying advantage, turning the compound into a shooting gallery. Explosions rip through the air, sending debris flying and shaking the very ground. The main building, where Ambassador Stevens and Sean Smith, an IT specialist, are located, quickly comes under direct fire. Molotov cocktails are thrown, setting the building ablaze. The crackle and roar of the flames become a new, horrifying soundtrack to the unfolding nightmare. Back at the annex, about a mile away, the GRS team hears the commotion. The distant gunfire, the explosions, the flares. It's not fireworks. Their training immediately kicks in. They know something terrible is happening. The sound isn't just distant, it's growing, resonating with a sinister familiarity. Roan, the most senior of the GRS operators, immediately recognizes the gravity of the situation. He and the others gear up, grab their weapons, and head to the Tactical Operations Center, or TOC, a hub of communication and command. They look to their station chief, Bob, a CIA manager who is not a combatant, for orders. This is where the story takes a frustrating turn. Bob, hesitant and seemingly overwhelmed by the unfolding crisis, gives the infamous order, "Stand down." The GRS operators, fully kitted out and ready to move, are told to wait. Their eyes, hardened by years of combat, flash with disbelief and anger. The diplomatic compound is under attack, American lives are in danger, and they're being told to wait? The arguments fly thick and fast. Roan and Tonto are particularly vocal, pleading their case, explaining that if they don't go now, there might be no one left to save. The frantic calls coming into the TOC paint a grim picture. Americans are trapped, buildings are burning, and the situation is deteriorating rapidly. The sounds echoing from the compound are becoming more desperate, more intense. It's a cacophony of fear and violence. The tension in the TOC is palpable, almost suffocating. The GRS team knows their duty, but they're being held back by a chain of command that seems paralyzed by indecision. It's a classic catch-22. Follow orders and potentially let people die, or defy orders and face the consequences later. For these men, the choice becomes clear. They're soldiers, even if they're private contractors now. They don't leave people behind. Roan, with a grim determination that overrides any semblance of bureaucratic deference, makes the call. We're going. It's not a question, it's a statement of absolute resolve. He looks Bob in the eye, and the message is clear. Whether he likes it or not, they're moving. They pile into their armored vehicles, a small, heavily armed convoy heading into the unknown. The engines roar to life, the engines roaring a defiant challenge to the encroaching darkness. As they speed towards the compound, the flames from the burning buildings are now visible, painting the night sky with an ominous orange glow, a beacon of destruction. Arriving at the diplomatic compound, the scene is pure pandemonium. The main gate is demolished, cars are burning, and the grounds are swarming with attackers. The GRS team immediately engages, laying down suppressive fire with their M4s and M249s, the sharp crack of their rifles cutting through the chaotic din. The first firefight is brutal and immediate. Bullets whiz past their heads, impacting against the armored vehicles and the surrounding walls with sickening thuds. They move with practiced precision, covering each other, communicating with terse, efficient calls. Tonto, with his characteristic bravado, is yelling, "Let's go, boys, let's get some," as he pushes forward. The tactile sensation of the ground trembling from explosions is constant. They're a small island of order in a sea of anarchy. Their primary objective is to find Ambassador Stevens and any other personnel trapped inside the burning building. The air is thick with smoke, stinging their eyes and burning their throats. They navigate through the labyrinthine corridors of the compound, calling out for Chris and Sean. The heat from the flames is intense, almost unbearable, scorching their skin through their tactical gear. The whoosh and crackle of the fire dominate the auditory landscape inside the building. They find Sean Smith, barely conscious, struggling to breathe in the smoke-filled room. They pull him out, providing immediate aid, but Stevens is nowhere to be found. The building is collapsing around them, making further search impossible and incredibly dangerous. The realization that Stevens might be lost is a heavy blow, but they can't dwell on it. They have other lives to save. Under constant fire, they manage to extract Smith and several DS agents who were also trapped or injured. It's a desperate race against time and bullets. The thwack of rounds hitting their vehicles is constant, the sounds of broken glass and shattered concrete mixing with the screams of the wounded. They move tactically, forming a defensive perimeter, returning fire with deadly accuracy. Boone, the sniper, takes up a position, providing crucial cover, his shots precise and impactful, dropping attackers with chilling efficiency. Oz takes a hit, a glancing blow, but keeps fighting, fueled by adrenaline and a fierce determination. The team decides they can't hold the compound. It's too exposed, too compromised. They need to get back to the annex, consolidate their forces, and defend a more secure position. It's a tactical retreat, a difficult but necessary decision to prevent further casualties. The journey back to the annex is no less perilous. They're effectively running a gauntlet, with attackers dogging their convoy every step of the way. Bullets constantly pepper their vehicles, the ping and scrape of metal protesting under the assault. The vehicles swerve and accelerate, trying to outmaneuver the relentless pursuit. The operators return fire through gun ports and windows, trying to suppress the enemy as they drive. It's a full-on chase scene, but with real stakes and real blood. They finally make it back to the annex, battered but with most of the personnel they went in to retrieve. The grim reality of their mission sinks in as they realize Ambassador Stevens is still missing, likely lost in the inferno. The weight of that knowledge is etched on their faces. Back at the annex, the respite is momentary. The attackers, emboldened by their success at the compound, quickly shift their focus. The annex becomes the next target. The team immediately sets up defensive positions, fortifying the walls, distributing ammunition, and assigning sectors of fire. Roan, as the de facto leader, coordinates their defense, his orders sharp and clear, cutting through the rising tension. Jack and Oz take positions on the roof, gaining a vantage point, their night vision goggles giving them an eerie, green-tinged view of the approaching enemy. Tonto, Boone, and Tig cover other critical sectors. The soundscape changes again. Instead of chaotic pursuit, it's now the anxious quiet before a storm, broken only by the whispers of the wind and the nervous shuffling of feet. Then the assault begins. It's not a single coordinated attack, but waves of militants, some arriving in vehicles, some on foot, all intent on breaching the annex. The initial volley of small arms fire is intense, bullets raining down on the compound walls and buildings. The crack, crack, crack of AK-47s is relentless, interspersed with the heavier thump, thump, thump of machine guns. The GRS team responds with disciplined fire, their M4s and M249s barking back, the muzzle flashes illuminating the darkness in strobe-like bursts. Oz and Jack on the roof become instrumental, using their thermal imagers to spot targets hidden in the shadows. The images on their screens, ghostly figures glowing in the heat, allow them to pick off attackers with precision. It's a technological advantage, but it doesn't diminish the sheer danger. The attackers aren't just using small arms. They start deploying improvised mortar rounds, crude but devastating projectiles that land within the annex walls with deafening booms. The first few rounds hit the ground with concussive force, sending dust, debris, and shrapnel flying. The tactical calls become urgent. Mortar, get down! The operators scramble for cover, the metallic ping of shrapnel hitting their helmets and vests a chilling reminder of the proximity of death. These mortar attacks are particularly terrifying because they come from unseen positions, raining down indiscriminately. One round impacts close to Oz and Jack's position on the roof, sending a shower of sparks and concrete. It's like a game of whack-a-mole, but the moles are trying to kill you. The fight is a test of endurance. Hours pass, blending into a relentless blur of gunfire, explosions, and tactical maneuvering. The operators conserve ammunition, making every shot count. They communicate constantly, relaying enemy positions, calling for fire support, and checking on each other. Tonto, ever the energizer, keeps the morale up with his dry humor and expletive-laden encouragement, a much-needed release in the face of constant pressure. "They keep coming, huh? Don't these guys have homes?" he might quip, drawing a quick, grim smile from his teammates. Boone, the sniper, remains a silent guardian, his shots ringing out with deadly accuracy, thinning the ranks of the attackers who try to advance across open ground. The consistent thud, thud, thud of his heavy caliber rounds is a comforting sound to the others. The team knows they are effectively on their own. Calls for air support, for reinforcements from afar, go unanswered or are met with bureaucratic delays. The frustration is palpable, adding to the exhaustion. They're doing everything they can, but they can't fight an entire army alone. The fight moves from the outer walls to the inner perimeter, as attackers try to climb the walls or breach gates. Hand-to-hand combat is narrowly avoided as they push back encroaching militants. The close-quarters fighting is savage, the grunts of effort and the sickening thuds of impacts punctuating the constant gunfire. They're not just fighting for their lives, they're fighting for the lives of every American civilian in the annex. As the night wears on, the attacks become more sophisticated. The militants seem to learn, adopting their tactics. They use flashlights and lasers to disorient the defenders, attempting to draw their fire and reveal their positions. But the GRS team is too experienced for such simple tricks. They use their own night vision and thermal optics to maintain their advantage, continuing to pick off targets. The psychological toll begins to show. Exhaustion gnaws at them, their eyes burning from lack of sleep and the constant strain of vigilance. But they push through, drawing on reserves of strength they didn't know they had. The click of an empty magazine and the thwack of a fresh one being slopped in become common sounds in the symphony of battle. In a particularly brutal phase of the attack, another mortar round impacts directly on the rooftop where Roan and Oz are providing cover. The explosion is deafening, a blinding flash of light and a massive concussive wave that throws them both. Oz is severely injured, his arm and leg mangled by shrapnel, blood staining his tactical gear. Roan, despite the proximity of the blast, is miraculously still able to fight, though clearly shaken. The pain Oz is experiencing is excruciating, his gasps for breath audible even amidst the chaos. The others rush to help him, pulling him off the roof under heavy fire. It's a moment that highlights the immediate and personal cost of their defense. They administer aid, stabilizing him as best they can, but he's severely hurt. Yet even with his wounds, Oz remains defiant, grabbing a weapon with his good hand and continuing to bark orders and offer support. The sight of Oz's injuries galvanizes the team even further. They're not just fighting for a mission anymore, they're fighting for each other. The bond between them, forged in countless deployments and moments of shared danger, becomes unbreakable. Tonto, with renewed fury, unleashes a torrent of fire, seemingly taking on multiple attackers single-handedly. Jack, who started the day trying to fix his marriage, is now fully immersed in the brutal reality of war, his movements fluid and deadly. Boone maintains his unwavering focus, providing crucial overwatch, his sniper rifle a lifeline for his brothers. The darkness of the night slowly begins to give way to the first hints of dawn, a faint gray light on the horizon, but the attacks show no signs of letting up. It feels like the entire city has turned against them. Just as hope seems to be dwindling and ammunition is running dangerously low, a new development. A small contingent of Libyan GRS soldiers, led by a local commander, finally arrives to help evacuate the annex. This is not the full-scale military reinforcement they hoped for, but it's something. The joy, however, is short-lived, as the arrival of these forces seems to coincide with another wave of attackers, perhaps a final desperate push by the militants. The team has to fight their way out of the annex under continuous fire. The evacuation becomes another harrowing journey, a desperate convoy race through hostile streets. The operators, even the wounded Oz, are still laying down fire, protecting the civilians and the remaining annex personnel. The vehicles are targets, bullets pounding against their sides, tires screeching as they navigate the dangerous roads. The air is thick with the smell of exhaust, gunpowder, and burning rubber. The tension is almost unbearable as they push towards the Benghazi airport, their only hope for safe passage out of the country. They know the enemy is still out there, lurking in every shadow, ready to pounce. During this final, frantic push, tragedy strikes again. Roan, who had been a pillar of strength and leadership throughout the entire ordeal, is hit by a mortar round. The impact is sudden and devastating. His last moments are marked by the chaos of battle, but his sacrifice is felt immediately by the team. The grief and shock are palpable, even in the midst of the ongoing firefight. Jock, who had just reconciled with his own family over the phone before this all began, sees his friend fall, a powerful reminder of the ultimate cost of their service. The air literally gets knocked out of the team, a collective gasp of disbelief, followed by a surge of renewed, desperate fury. They've lost one of their own, and the weight of that loss spurs them to fight even harder to get everyone else out alive. As they reach the airport, the sense of relief is immense, but it's tainted by the losses. Ambassador Stevens, Sean Smith, and now their brother, Roan. The GRS team helps load the bodies onto the plane, a somber, silent ritual. The faces of the operators are etched with exhaustion, grief, and a profound sense of loss. They've done their duty, fought like lions, saved countless lives, but the cost has been immense. The plane takes off, leaving behind the dust and the death of Benghazi. The camera lingers on their faces as they reflect on the harrowing 13 hours they just survived. The silence inside the plane, a stark contrast to the relentless sounds of battle. The film then transitions to the aftermath, showing the survivors returning home, forever changed by what they experienced. Jock finally reunites with his family, a bittersweet moment of relief mixed with the trauma he carries. The faces of the operators are those of men who have stared into the abyss and come back. They're hailed as heroes by some, but for them it's about the men they lost and the oath they upheld. The credits roll, honoring the fallen, reminding us that this wasn't just a movie, but a painful chapter in history, a testament to the bravery and sacrifice of ordinary men in extraordinary circumstances. The film leaves you with a deep appreciation for the grit and courage displayed, but also with a lingering sense of the geopolitical complexities and personal costs of such conflicts. It makes you really think about the invisible lines these guys walk every single day. As the echoes of the Benghazi night fade, what truly remains is not just the visceral memory of firefights and explosions, but the enduring spirit of these men. They remind us that even in the most chaotic and abandoned corners of the world, courage can illuminate the darkest hours. Their story is a powerful testament to the human capacity for resilience, for standing firm against overwhelming odds, and for finding strength in the bonds of brotherhood. It's a profound reflection on the quiet heroism that often goes unnoticed, a beacon of unwavering dedication in the face of insurmountable challenges. They didn't ask for recognition, they simply chose to act. 13 Hours is a brutally effective and unflinching portrayal of courage under fire, a masterclass in conveying the chaos and intensity of modern combat. Michael Bay, surprisingly, grounds action in raw, visceral reality, honoring the sacrifice. Our story kicks off not with a bang, but with the subtle hum of a plane touching down in a place that looks less like a vacation destination and more like a post-apocalyptic dust bowl. We meet Jack Silva, a former Navy SEAL, whose tired eyes and weary demeanor tell you everything you need to know about the kind of work he signed up for. He's stepping into Benghazi, Libya in 2012, a place where the rule of law is less a set of guidelines and more a polite suggestion that no one really follows. Jack's here to join a private security team, a close-knit group of ex-military contractors, or GRS operators as they call themselves, providing protection for a clandestine CIA station, referred to as the Annex. The first thing that hits you, even through the screen, is the pervasive sense of unease. The city itself feels like a coiled viper ready to strike. As Jack is picked up at the airport by his buddy and fellow operator, Tyrone Roan Woods, the streets are a dizzying blur of armed men, burnt-out cars, and crumbling buildings. Roan, with his calm but watchful intensity, explains the lay of the land. Welcome to Benghazi. It's not a place you want to be. Understatement of the year, Roan. You can practically taste the dust and the tension in the air. This isn't your average office job, unless your office includes regular brushes with heavily armed factions that really don't appreciate your presence. The GRS team consists of a collection of hard-bitten professionals, each with their own history and a shared understanding of what it means to be on the razor's edge. There's Mark Oz Geist, a big, imposing figure with a no-nonsense attitude. Chris Tanto Peranto, whose quick wit and even quicker reflexes mask a serious commitment to his brothers. John Tig Teagan, the quiet, observant one, always tinkering with beer. And Dave Boone Benton, the sharpshooter who carries a quiet intensity that speaks volumes about his focus. These guys are a family, forged in the fires of countless prior engagements, and their banter, laced with dark humor, is a crucial coping mechanism for the constant danger they face. Their base of operations, the Annex, is a fortified compound, but even within its walls, the threat feels palpable. The CIA chief of station, a bureaucratic figure we'll affectionately call Bob, is less than thrilled about having these trigger-happy security guys around. He's more concerned with maintaining a low profile and avoiding any international incidents, which, let's be honest, is a bit like trying to stop a tsunami with a teacup in this environment. He keeps them on a tight leash, constantly reminding them of the rules of engagement, which essentially boil down to don't shoot unless you absolutely positively have to, and even then, maybe ask permission first. Yeah, that'll work in a war zone. The tension between the GRS operators and Bob is immediate and adds a simmering layer of frustration to an already volatile situation. Life at the Annex is a strange mix of boredom and sudden spikes of adrenaline. The guys lift weights, swap stories, and try to maintain some semblance of normalcy, all while their senses are constantly on high alert. Jack, new to the specific dynamics of this posting, tries to settle in. He calls his wife back home, the distance in their voices a stark reminder of the chasm between his world and hers. It's a moment of vulnerability, a human touch in a dehumanizing environment, showing us that beneath the hardened exterior, these are men with families, hopes, and fears. It's not just about the explosions and the gunfire, it's about the cost. The clock ticks steadily towards the fateful night. It's September 11, 2012, the anniversary of a day that needs no introduction. This detail, of course, is a ticking time bomb hanging over everything. The air is heavy, almost electric, with an unspoken dread. Ambassador Chris Stevens, along with State Department Information Officer Sean Smith, is staying at the U.S. diplomatic compound, a less fortified, more vulnerable location about a mile away from the Annex. This compound is guarded by a handful of local Libyan guards who, frankly, look more comfortable sipping tea than holding a line against an armed assault. To give you an idea of the security, it's basically a fancy house with some gates, not a fortress. The GRS team views this setup with barely concealed contempt and concern, understanding the inherent dangers of such a soft target in a city teeming with hostiles. As night falls, the compound becomes a beacon of vulnerability. The GRS team at the Annex watches a football game, trying to unwind, but their chatter is punctuated by the ambient sounds of a city that never truly sleeps. Distant gunshots, the murmur of the crowd, the ever-present drone of generators. Suddenly, the silence is shattered. The crackle of static over the radio cuts through the air, followed by urgent, panicked shouts. The diplomatic compound is under attack. The immediate reaction at the Annex is a surge of adrenaline, a primal instinct kicking in. Roan, ever the leader, is already barking orders. The GRS team scrambles, grabbing their gear, the metallic clatter of weapons and body armor a symphony of impending conflict. This is what they're trained for, what they're paid for, and what they secretly dread. They're like highly tuned instruments, each knowing their part in the deadly orchestra about to unfold. But then, Bob, the CIA chief, steps in, his voice tight with a mixture of fear and bureaucratic caution. He orders them to stand down. Hold your positions, he insists, fearing that their intervention will expose the CIA annex and escalate the situation, potentially leading to dire political consequences. He wants to call in the cavalry, get higher authorization. It's a classic bureaucratic blunder in the face of immediate, life-threatening danger. The frustration among the GRS operators is palpable, a dangerous mix of anger and disbelief. Their friends are under fire and they're being told to wait. It's a moment where rules and regulations clash violently with raw human instinct. Jack, Boone, Tonto, Tig, Oz, and Roan exchange glances, a silent debate passing between them. They know what they have to do, regardless of the orders. Roan, with the weight of leadership on his shoulders, makes the call. We're going. His voice is firm, unwavering. The guys don't hesitate. They know the risks, they know the potential fallout, but they also know that lives are on the line. The roar of their engines as they peel out of the annex gates is a defiant declaration, a promise of action against a torrent of bureaucratic inertia. This is where the Secret Soldiers earn their moniker, choosing humanity over protocol. Honestly, if I were them, I'd probably have tossed Bob's phone in a blender at that point. The drive to the diplomatic compound is a frantic race against time. The streets, which were just moments ago a blur of vague menace, are now teeming with armed militants, their faces obscured by scarves, their movements aggressive and purposeful. The operators grip their weapons tighter, their eyes scanning every shadow, every window, every potential ambush point. The metallic clang of their armored vehicles hitting debris, the grinding of gears, the frantic shouts of locals, it all blends into a cacophony of chaos. They're driving into a hornet's nest, and they know it. As they approach the compound, the scene is pure pandemonium. Fires rage, painting the night sky with an ominous orange glow. The sound of automatic gunfire is deafening, a relentless chorus of violence. Smoke billows from the main building, filling the air with the acrid smell of burning materials. Militants are swarming the perimeter, firing indiscriminately, their shouts echoing menacingly. The local guards have mostly fled, leaving the compound a defenseless shell. It's a stark, brutal image of a place utterly overrun. The GRS team busts through the gates, their vehicles plowing through the chaos. They immediately come under heavy fire. The crock of incoming rounds hitting their armored vehicles, the sharp thwack as bullets embed themselves in the surrounding walls, the whistle of near misses. It's an instant, visceral assault on the senses. They deploy quickly, their training kicking in, moving with practiced efficiency amidst the chaos. Tonto, ever the aggressor, lays down suppressive fire, his rifle spitting tracer rounds into the darkness, illuminating the attacking figures. Oz covers him, his larger frame providing a shield, his own weapon adding to the percussive symphony of battle. Jack and Boone move swiftly, clearing sectors, their movements precise and economical. Roan directs traffic, his commands cutting through the din. Their immediate objective is clear: find Ambassador Stevens and Sean Smith. They push through the compound, navigating burning debris and dodging a hail of gunfire. The heat from the fires is intense, baking the air, making every breath a struggle. They clear building after building, the tension ratcheting up with each open door. The search is desperate, the hope fading with every empty room. They find Sean Smith, tragically, already dead from smoke inhalation. A grim silence descends upon the team, a heavy blow delivered amidst the fight. The weight of it is immense, a silent acknowledgement of the cost of their delay, of the sheer brutality of the attack. The search for Ambassador Stevens continues, but the compound is too far gone. They can't find him anywhere. The building is an inferno, its structure groaning and collapsing around them. They realize he must have been separated, perhaps taken, or worse, consumed by the flames. It's a bitter pill to swallow. With limited time and resources, their priority shifts: extract the remaining diplomatic staff. They gather the few survivors they find huddled in safe rooms, terrified, disoriented. These are ordinary people caught in an extraordinary nightmare, and the GRS team becomes their only hope. Under continuous fire, they shepherd the survivors to their armored vehicles. The process is harrowing, a constant dance with death. Snipers pick at them from the darkness, their shots pinging off the walls. RPGs, or rocket-propelled grenades, are launched, tearing through the air with a menacing whoosh, exploding with concussive force that rattles the very ground beneath their feet. One explodes dangerously close to their vehicles, sending shrapnel whistling past. The ground is littered with spent casings, broken glass, and the lingering smell of cordite. It's a chaotic ballet of violence, each movement a gamble. With the survivors loaded, they prepare for the extraction, but the militants are not letting up. The gates are still under siege, more armed fighters pouring in. It's clear they can't simply drive out. They have to fight their way back. The plan forms quickly: push through the attackers, use their vehicle's armor as a shield, and lay down as much suppressive fire as possible. It's a gamble, but it's their only option. The convoy bursts out of the compound, a torrent of lead following them. The vehicles become mobile fortresses, their tires screeching as they swerve to avoid obstacles and incoming fire. The sounds inside are deafening, the rhythmic thump-thump of automatic weapons, the shouts of the operators, the desperate cries of the civilians. Tonto is on the roof, firing his machine gun, a terrifying beacon of defiance in the darkness. Sparks fly as bullets strike the gun shield. He's a one-man army, his focus absolute, his rage controlled. They race back towards the annex, the short distance feeling like an eternity. The streets are still swarming with militants, but the GRS team, having just survived one hellish encounter, are now fighting with a desperate ferocity. They exchange fire with groups of armed men hidden behind cars and in alleyways. The flashes of muzzle fire illuminate the night in quick, brutal bursts. Each impact on their vehicles sends a jarring shudder through the chassis. It's not just a drive, it's a gauntlet, a desperate sprint through a city that has become a battlefield. Upon the return to the annex, the relief is fleeting. They've made it back, but the fight isn't over. They haven't even had a moment to catch their breath when the realization hits them. The annex is next. The militants, having overwhelmed the diplomatic compound, are now shifting their focus. The soundscape changes. The distant gunfire from the compound fades, replaced by a growing murmur, a shifting presence, closer, more immediate. It's the sound of a gathering storm. The GRS team immediately begins fortifying the annex. This is their home, their sanctuary, and they will defend it to the last man. They set up defensive positions, reinforcing doors and windows, stringing concertina wire, and establishing fields of fire. Boone takes up position as a sniper, his eagle eyes scanning the perimeter for any movement. Take and Oz begin distributing ammunition, checking weapon systems, making sure everything is ready. Jack and Tonto work to secure the main entry points, while Roan coordinates the overall defense, his commands clear and concise, even as his eyes betray the immense pressure he's under. The initial assault on the annex is less of a trickle and more of a deluge. The first waves of attackers emerge from the shadows, their forms indistinct in the low light, but their intent unmistakable. The perimeter lights, which were supposed to offer some safety, instead make the attackers easier to spot, but also make the defenders more visible. The battle begins anew with a falisade of gunfire. The crack and whine of bullets are constant. The operators return fire, their well-aimed shots finding targets. Each successful hit a small victory in a larger, desperate struggle. The attackers use everything they have: small arms fire, machine guns, and more ominously, mortars. The sound of a mortar tube being fired, followed by the terrifying whistle of the incoming round, becomes a chilling, regular occurrence. The explosions are concussive, shaking the very foundations of the annex, sending dirt and debris raining down. One particularly close hit sends a shower of shattered glass showering into the main office, forcing everyone to hit the deck. Well, that escalated quickly, Tonto probably mutters if he wasn't too busy returning fire.
The battle for the annex is a grueling, hours-long slugfest. The operators are pushed to their physical and mental limits. They move from position to position, patching up defenses, reloading, and providing covering fire. Communication is crucial, shouts echoing across the compound. Contact, front gate. RPG incoming. Reloading. The smells are a mix of gun smoke, burning rubber, and the metallic tang of blood. The sounds are a constant symphony of chaos. The thump-thump-thump of a heavy machine gun, the sharp crack of sniper fire, the distinctive pop of a grenade launcher, and the terrifying whoosh of an RPG. During a brief lull, the men manage to check on their wounds, share a quick word, and try to process the enormity of what's happening. Jack, tending to a minor graze, catches Boone's eye. There's a shared understanding, a silent acknowledgement of the brotherhood forged in fire. They're exhausted, but their resolve remains unshaken. They're defending their ground, and more importantly, they're defending each other and the remaining diplomatic staff holed up inside. Bob, the CIA chief, is now a silent, terrified witness to the carnage, his earlier caution replaced by a desperate plea for help from anyone who will listen. The irony is probably not lost on the operators, but they're too busy fighting to gloat. The first major assault wave pushes towards the main gate. Oz and Tonto are there, side by side, laying down a curtain of fire. The attackers are relentless, appearing almost out of the darkness, their faces contorted in shouts. One militant, bolder than the rest, tries to breach the wire, only to be met by a burst of fire from Oz's weapon, dropping him instantly. The sound of his body hitting the ground is muffled by the ongoing firepower, but the message is clear: you shall not pass. The operators are a living, breathing wall of defiance. The enemy shifts tactics, attempting to scale the walls in other sections. Tig, with his keen eye for detail and quick thinking, spots them. He directs fire, adjusting his position, taking precise shots that send figures tumbling back down. Boone, from his elevated position, becomes the guardian angel of the annex, his sniper rifle delivering precise, lethal blows to any attacker who dares to show themselves for too long. Each shot is a sharp crack, followed by a thud, a stark reminder of the lethal precision these men possess. Hours crawl by. The sun has long since set, and the battle rages under the stark light of the compound's remaining floodlights and the intermittent flashes of muzzle fire. Ammunition runs dangerously low. They start conserving rounds, making every shot count. The fear of being overrun is a cold, persistent dread, but they keep fighting, fueled by adrenaline, training, and a fierce loyalty to one another. The sensory overload is constant, the smell of smoke and gunpowder, the ringing in their ears from the explosions, the grit of dust and debris on their faces, the cold steel of their weapons against their skin. At one point, Roan takes charge of moving some of the diplomatic staff to a safer part of the annex, a temporary bunker. He moves with a purpose, guiding the terrified civilians, his large frame a reassuring presence even as bullets ping off the walls around them. He offers words of calm, a stark contrast to the storm raging outside. It's a moment that highlights his leadership, his unwavering commitment to his duty and his people. The fighting intensifies further when the attackers start systematically deploying mortars. These aren't just random shots, they're aimed. The team realizes they're being targeted. The terrifying whoosh of an incoming mortar round becomes a more frequent and dreaded sound. They scramble for cover, diving behind walls, praying the rounds don't find them. One explosion rips through a section of the compound, sending a wave of concussive force through the air, knocking one of the operators off his feet. He shakes it off, adrenaline burning, and returns to the fight. Tanto, always one for a bit of gallows humor, cracks a joke about ordering pizza during a brief respite, trying to lighten the mood, or perhaps just to remind himself and the others that there was a world beyond this hell. It's a small, human moment, a flicker of normalcy in an utterly abnormal situation. This is the kind of coping mechanism that keeps them from completely unraveling. "Anyone want pepperoni? We're taking a poll," he yells over the gunfire, earning a grim chuckle from Jack. As the night wears on, the attacks ebb and flow, moments of intense fighting followed by periods of tense quiet, only to erupt again with renewed ferocity. These lulls are almost worse than the act of fighting, as they allow the mind to wander, to contemplate the overwhelming odds, to feel the exhaustion settle deep in their bones. The metallic clang of a spent casing hitting the ground, the labored breathing of a teammate, the distant howl of a dog. These small sounds become amplified in the silence, a stark contrast to the recent explosions. The team begins to sustain casualties. Oz is hit by shrapnel, a painful but not immediately incapacitating wound. He grits his teeth, pushing through the pain, refusing to leave his post. Roan, ever in the thick of it, takes a direct hit from a mortar. The explosion is deafening, sending a shockwave through the compound. The dust settles, and a chilling silence descends. The other operators rush to his side, their hearts sinking with each step. Roan is critically wounded, his body mangled. It's a devastating blow, a wrenching loss for the team, whose camaraderie is the bedrock of their survival. Jack is particularly affected, his close bond with Roan making the loss almost unbearable. They manage to pull Roan to a safer location, but the prognosis is dire. They can only provide basic first aid, their medical supplies stretched thin. The crushing weight of grief and helplessness settles on them, even as the fight continues. The sacrifice steels their resolve, turning their exhaustion into a grim determination. Roan's loss galvanizes them. They will not let his sacrifice be in vain. "We finish this," Jack vows, his voice raw with emotion. The second wave of mortar attacks is more precise, clearly targeting their positions. The mortars are coming in hot, ripping through the air with a terrifying shriek. One hits close to the roof where Tig and Boone are positioned, sending concrete debris flying. Boone, providing covering fire, is hit. The force of the impact sends him reeling, and he falls, his body slumping against the railing. Tig flushes to his side, frantic, shouting his name. Boone, the sharpshooter, the quiet observer, is down. Another devastating blow, another brother lost. The metallic clang of his rifle, dropped from his grasp, echoes the finality of the moment. The team, now reeling from the loss of two of their own, is pushed to the brink. The grief is a heavy cloak, but there's no time to mourn. The fight is still raging, and the enemy is still at their gates. They redouble their efforts, fighting with a renewed, almost desperate ferocity. Jack, with a grim determination, picks up Boone's rifle, vowing to make every shot count for his fallen comrade. It's a symbolic passing of the torch, a silent promise to keep fighting. The sun begins to rise, casting long shadows across the ravaged compound. The first rays of dawn illuminate the extent of the damage, showing the pockmarked walls, the debris-strewn ground, the spent casings glinting in the pale light. The battle has left its mark, literally. The attackers, perhaps disheartened by their inability to breach the annex or sensing the arrival of dawn, begin to pull back. The intensity of the gunfire slowly subsides, replaced by a tense, eerie quiet. The ringing in the operator's ears is now almost deafening in the sudden stillness. But the danger isn't over. They know that daylight brings new threats, new ways for the enemy to observe and attack. They're still vulnerable, isolated, and running critically low on ammunition. Relief needs to arrive, and soon. After what feels like an eternity, the sound of vehicle engines, different from the enemy's, reaches their ears. Hope flickers. It's a small convoy of Libyan forces, accompanied by a small contingent of U.S. military personnel. The cavalry, finally. They've arrived to evacuate the remaining staff and the GRS team. The sight of friendly forces is a profound relief, a burden lifted from their shoulders. The physical exhaustion, which they had suppressed for hours, now washes over them. The emotional toll is clear in their tired, bloodshot eyes and the slump of their shoulders. They move slowly, methodically, towards the waiting vehicles. It's a somber procession, carrying their wounded and the bodies of their fallen comrades. The metallic clatter of their gear now sounds heavy, imbued with the weight of what they've endured. As they make their way to the airport, the journey is tense but relatively uneventful, a stark contrast to the desperate fight just hours before. The city still looks menacing, but the immediate threat has receded. They pass through checkpoints, the local forces appearing almost apologetic, aware of the immense courage displayed by these few men. The silence in the vehicles is thick with unspoken grief and the lingering shock of battle. At the airport, a C-130 transport plane awaits. It's a beacon of safety, a symbol of escape from the nightmare. The wounded are attended to, the dead respectfully prepared for their final journey home. The remaining GRS operators are quiet, their faces grim, their eyes reflecting the horrors they've witnessed. They shake hands with the arriving military personnel, a mutual respect passing between them, an understanding that transcends words. As they board the plane, one last act of defiance and remembrance occurs. Jack, along with the others, stands guard over the coffins of Roan, Boone, and Ambassador Stevens, ensuring they are treated with the respect they deserve. It's a powerful moment, a silent vigil for their fallen brothers, and for the ambassador, who, despite the controversy surrounding his presence, was still an American serving his country. The interior of the plane is cool, quiet, a stark contrast to the burning inferno they left behind. The roar of the engines as the plane takes off is a sound of escape, a release from the confines of Benghazi. On the flight out, the men sit in silence, the emotional and physical exhaustion finally catching up. They reflect on what happened, the sheer brutality of it all. The faces of their fallen comrades are seared into their minds. They look out the windows, watching the Libyan coastline disappear below, leaving behind a place that took so much from them, a place that will forever be etched into their memories. It's not a moment of celebration, but one of grim survival and profound loss. The movie concludes with their return home, the stark contrast between the chaos of Benghazi and the serene familiarity of their families, a jarring shift. Jack reunites with his wife, the embrace a desperate clinging to normalcy. Tonto, Oz, and Tig also return, forever changed by their experience. The film ends not with a neat resolution, but with a somber reflection on the sacrifices made, the questions unanswered, and the enduring bond of brotherhood forged in the crucible of battle. It leaves you with a heavy heart, thinking about the true cost of covert operations and the unsung heroes who carry the burden. The sounds of birds chirping and children playing replace the sounds of gunfire, creating an almost painful auditory contrast. It's a stark reminder that even after the dust settles and the planes fly away, the memories and the scars remain. The film does a masterful job of not just showing the action, but also the deep human cost. It doesn't offer easy answers, and it certainly doesn't pull its punches when it comes to depicting the sheer terror and chaos of the situation. The metallic clang of weapons, the thud of bodies, the desperate shouts, every sound and sight serves to immerse you in the raw, unfiltered experience of these 13 hours. You feel the grit under their boots, the heat on their skin, and the profound weight of their decisions. The operators, now back in the safety of their home country, carry a quiet burden. Their families try to understand, but how do you explain a night like that? How do you articulate the sensation of bullets ripping through the air inches from your head, the deafening roar of an explosion shaking your very bones, or the sight of a friend falling in battle. The conversation often falls short, words proving inadequate for such immense experiences. Jack looks at his children, knowing that he did what he had to do to protect lives, but also knowing that part of him will forever be in that burning compound. The silence in their homes, after the constant din of warfare, is almost unsettling.
The movie also subtly highlights the political backdrop without getting bogged down in it. You understand that these men are pawns in a larger game, caught between the realities of a dangerous world and the sometimes naive ideals of diplomacy. Their job is to protect, to fight, and they do so without question, even when the orders from above are questionable. The sarcasm from Tanto and the grim nods from the others whenever Bob is mentioned speak volumes about their disdain for bureaucracy in a life-or-death situation. Because, paperwork trumps RPGs every time, Tanto might quip, rolling his eyes, if he weren't too busy reloading. One of the more poignant moments amidst the intense combat is the brief glimpse into the internal struggles of these men. They aren't just stoic warriors, they are human beings. There's the worry about their families, the guilt of leaving them, and the profound sense of responsibility for the lives in their care. The rapid heartbeat they experience before an engagement, the surge of adrenaline, and the eventual crushing fatigue are all portrayed with a raw honesty. The sound of their heavy breathing, strained and ragged, adds to the authenticity of their struggle. The way they react to each other, their unspoken communication, is a testament to their bond. A glance, a nod, a simple hand gesture, these are all they need to coordinate complex tactical maneuvers in the heat of battle. When Oz is hit, the immediate concern and protective actions of his teammates speak volumes. It's a visceral, unbreakable connection forged under extreme duress. The muffled sounds of their exchanges, sometimes just a grunt or a curse, convey more than a full sentence could. The defense of the annex is a masterclass in tactical improvisation under pressure. The operators leverage every piece of terrain, every structural advantage. They anticipate the enemy's moves, using their training and experience to counter the onslaught. The repetitive metallic clang of rounds hitting the reinforced walls, the splintering wood from near misses, the whistling of stray bullets, it all contributes to the overwhelming sense of being trapped and fighting for every inch of ground. They are like a human dam, holding back a raging flood. When the mortars start really falling, the terror becomes almost unbearable. The whistle, whomp of the explosions are relentless. You can almost feel the ground shake with each impact. The team learns to anticipate them, diving for cover, but the psychological toll is immense. It's an indiscriminate killer, robbing them of control, adding a layer of existential dread to the immediate threat of gunfire. Just another Tuesday in Benghazi, right? Tanto might yell, trying to mask the fear in his voice with bravado. It's probably easier than just screaming. The loss of Roan and Boone is depicted with a raw, brutal honesty. There are no heroic death speeches, just the sudden, crushing reality of their absence. The guttural cries of grief, the desperate attempts at aid, the quiet shared sorrow among the remaining operators, these moments hit hard. The silence after a friend falls, however brief, is heavier than any explosion. It's a silence that screams of loss. The film doesn't shy away from showing the physical brutality of their wounds, making their sacrifice even more impactful. You hear the labored, gurgling breaths, the cries of pain, the frantic tearing of fabric for bandages. As the sun rises and the attack subsides, there's a fragile sense of victory mixed with overwhelming exhaustion and grief. The sounds of lingering gunfire slowly fade, replaced by the chirping of birds, a cruel return to natural order after a night of unnatural violence. The sight of the Libyan forces arriving, while a welcome relief, is also a stark reminder of how alone they were for so long. It's a moment of complicated emotions, not a straightforward triumph. The quiet hum of the C-130's engines, a harbinger of escape, promises a momentary peace, but not true solace. The debriefing and the journey home are colored by the events. The camaraderie among the surviving operators is deepened, forged into an unbreakable bond. They are forever linked by those 13 hours, by the sacrifices they witnessed and the courage they displayed. The sounds of home, the laughter of children, the gentle voice of a spouse, the ordinary sounds of everyday life feels surreal after the cacophony of combat. It's a profound culture shock, a disconnect between two realities. It's like stepping out of a hardcore video game back into real life, but the controller is still vibrating. The film serves as a powerful testament to the dedication of these unsung heroes,
Men who operate in the shadows, far from public view, making split-second decisions with life or death consequences. It doesn't glorify war, but it definitely spotlights the bravery required to face it head-on. It respects their professionalism and their unwavering commitment to protect lives, even when those lives belong to people who made decisions they disagreed with. What makes 13 Hours truly resonate is its focus on the human element amidst the chaos. It's not just a military action film, it's a story about brotherhood, sacrifice, and the moral dilemmas faced when protocol clashes with basic human decency. The sound design is particularly effective, making you feel every bullet impact, every explosion, every strained breath. The tactile sensation of grit and heat is almost palpable. The quiet moments, though few and far between, are just as impactful as the explosions. The conversations between the operators about their families, their fears, and their hopes add a layer of depth that prevents them from becoming mere action figures. You root for them not just because they're the good guys, but because you understand their humanity, their vulnerabilities. It's like watching your favorite sports team, but the stakes are literally life or death, and they don't get a timeout. The climax of the battle as dawn breaks feels earned. The exhaustion of the operators is almost visible, their movements slower, their faces streaked with sweat and grime. Yet they push through, drawing on reserves of strength they didn't know they had. The desperate prayer from Tonto, the quiet determination of Jack, the protective instincts of Oz and Tig. These moments underscore their resolve. The last burst of fire gun as the enemy finally retreats is almost anticlimactic in its suddenness, leaving behind a silence that is almost as unsettling as the battle itself. The journey to the airport, knowing they have secured the survivors, is a moment of bittersweet relief. The sounds of their vehicles driving away from the besieged annex feel like a slow, deliberate escape from the clutches of death. The C-130 arriving, a massive metal bird against the dusty sky, is a symbol of salvation. The reverence with which they handle the fallen, meticulously preparing them for the flight home, speaks volumes about the deep respect and bond they share. Boarding the plane, the operators finally allow themselves a moment to breathe, to simply exist after hours of fighting for every second. The quiet hum of the plane's engines and the rhythmic drone of its flight offer a temporary sanctuary. Looking out at the receding land, a desolate, dangerous land that tried to consume them, a profound sense of closure, tinged with survivor's guilt, washes over them. It's not a celebration, it's a solemn recognition of what they lost and what they endured. The final scenes with the men back home are a stark, almost brutal contrast to the relentless action. The quiet streets, the green lawns, the innocent faces of their children, it all feels alien after the chaos of Benghazi. It's a powerful way to end the film, reminding us that the battle may be over, but the war within them, the memories and the scars, will remain. The sound of a child's laughter in a quiet backyard after the explosions and screams feels almost too loud, too bright, too normal. It's a beautifully crafted ending that leaves you pondering the long-term impact of such an event on those who lived through it. The film successfully navigates the complex political landscape without becoming preachy or overtly political. Its strength lies in its relentless focus on the ground-level experience, on the men who are there, facing impossible odds. It's a story of survival, of a deep and abiding brotherhood, and of the unwavering commitment to protect lives. It's a film that leaves you with a profound respect for the secret soldiers and the unimaginable pressures they face in the world's most dangerous places. It's a reminder that heroes aren't always in capes. Sometimes they're just regular guys with extraordinary courage, fighting for their friends, their country, and a chance to get home. It's easy to get caught up in the explosions and the gunfire, but 13 Hours works because it never lets you forget the humanity at its core. Every decision, every shot, every desperate breath is driven by the desire to survive and to protect. The film's emphasis on the auditory experience, from the distinct crack of different weapons to the terrifying crescendo of an incoming mortar, truly places you in the heart of the action. You feel the constant threat, the relentless pressure, and the sheer physical toll of fighting for your life for over half a day straight. The film is a masterclass in controlled chaos, never losing sight of the individual stories amidst the larger maelstrom. It takes a historical event and brings it to a deeply personal, visceral level, making you feel the weight of every second of those 13 hours. The subtle character development, achieved through their interactions and reactions under extreme stress, is also a highlight. We see Jack's initial discomfort give way to hardened resolve, Tanto's humor serve as a shield against the horror, Oz's quiet strength become a rock, Tig's precision save lives, and Roan's mentorship prove invaluable until his tragic end. Even Boone, the quiet observer, leaves an indelible mark through his unwavering focus. Their individual responses to the escalating crisis paint a vivid picture of courage under fire, making their sacrifice and survival all the more meaningful. It's a reminder that heroes come in different personalities, but share a common core of bravery. And let's not forget the sheer scale of the attack. It wasn't just a skirmish, it was a full-blown siege. The film effectively conveys the overwhelming numbers of the attackers, making the GRS team stand all the more miraculous. The constant pressure from multiple directions, the ceaseless barrage of fire, and the sheer determination of the militants highlight the monumental task these 6 men faced. It's like playing a video game on the hardest difficulty setting, but there are no respawns. The moments of reflection, even during the thick of the battle, provide crucial insight. Jack's quick flashes of his family, the desperation to make it home, are powerful motivators. These brief, internal thoughts humanize the hardened warriors, reminding us of the personal stakes involved. It's not just about a mission, it's about the lives they're fighting for, both their own and those they're protecting. It's a fight for survival, for family, and for the simple promise of seeing another sunrise. The aftermath, both on the plane and back home, is handled with a delicate touch, avoiding overt sentimentality in favor of quiet, understated grief and resilience. The silence of the plane, broken only by the hum of the engines and the occasional cough, speaks volumes. The quiet reunions with families, filled with unspoken understanding and lingering tension, underscore the profound chasm that now exists between their old lives and their new, post-Benghazi selves. The lingering echoes of gunfire in their minds, even in the quietest moments, are a phantom sensation that will forever haunt them. Ultimately, 13 Hours is a story about the unbreakable spirit of a few individuals caught in an unimaginable situation, forced to make impossible choices, and demonstrating extraordinary courage in the face of overwhelming odds. It's a visceral, intense, and deeply moving experience that stays with you long after the credits roll. The film is not just a recreation of an event, it's an homage to the courage of those who fought and sacrificed, ensuring their story and the sounds of their battle are never forgotten. It pulls you in, locks you down, and doesn't let go until the very end, leaving you breathless and contemplative. The movie's raw authenticity is its strongest suit. You feel the grit, the heat, the terror, and the exhaustion. Every bullet fired, every explosion, every strained breath contributes to a palpable sense of reality. It forces you to confront the chaos and the bravery head-on without softening the blows. It's a powerful and unflinching look at what it truly means to be a secret soldier in a world that often overlooks their sacrifices.
What these men did, defying orders to save lives, speaks volumes about their character. It's a pure, unadulterated act of courage born from a sense of duty and brotherhood. They didn't wait for permission, they acted. That's a lesson we can all take something from, even if our daily battles involve spreadsheets instead of RPGs. Though, honestly, some of those spreadsheets can feel like an RPG, am I right? It's a story that transcends politics and becomes a timeless tale of heroism. The final image of them flying home, carrying their fallen, is a powerful and somber conclusion. The vast emptiness of the sky outside the plane mirrors the emptiness in their hearts, but also the limitless expanse of their courage. It's a journey not just from a place, but through an experience that changed them forever. This movie, for all its intensity and action, really nails the core themes of duty, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bonds of brotherhood. It shows us that even in the darkest hours, when the world seems to be falling apart, the light of human courage can still shine through. It's a stark reminder that true heroes often work outside the spotlight, making immense sacrifices that few ever truly comprehend. Their story is a powerful testament to the strength of the human spirit when faced with unimaginable adversity. It's about standing up, even when everyone else is telling you to stand down, and fighting for what's right, no matter the cost. These soldiers, though secret, revealed the depth of their character to the world through their actions. 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi is an incredibly visceral and gripping film that delivers a relentless, action-packed account of courage under fire.
Its unflinching depiction of the chaotic 2012 attack, coupled with the deeply personal stories of the GRS operators, makes for a harrowing yet profoundly moving experience. It's a powerful testament to the bonds of brotherhood and the immense sacrifices made by those who serve in the shadows. It's made with a gripping narrative that resonates long after the credits roll. It's a powerful and essential watch for anyone seeking to understand the true cost of heroism.